Howdy Ho YouTube, Jon-Luke VGC here. Today, I will be taking a look at one of everyone's favorite Pokemon, Smeargle. So why do I want to take a look at Smeargle? Well, the Japan Championships just happened. They were June 21st and 22nd. Today is the 22nd, so they just literally ended. And Smeargle was in 3 of the top 8 spots in that tournament after years of nerfs. So if you're not aware, in like VGC 2017, Smeargle could learn the move Dark Void, which is at the time was I think 80 or 85% accurate dual hitting move that if it hit it and put the Pokemon to sleep, it was an absolute menace. And it gets an ability called Moody. You probably know this from Smuckle, but Moody basically gives you a +2 to one stat and a -1 to another stat every turn. It is randomly selected. Back then, Evasion was one of the stats that could be boosted. So you could get a +2 evasion boost all of a sudden, and Smeargle would be almost unhittable. It's since been nerfed pretty hard. Smeargle can no longer learn Dark Void. Dark Void itself is now only 50% accurate, and Moody now no longer boosts evasion. It just boosts the main stick stats. But however, Smeargle continues to be kind of this massive threat, especially when we get into higher power formats. And the question is, why? Why is Smeargle so good? So I'm going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at the Japan Nats today. I just find this really interesting. I've used Smeargle a decent chunk, and then we're going to look at a couple of battles, including one from the winner of the event, Yuma Kinugawa, whom you might remember seeing at NAIC in top 8, where he only got knocked out to Federico Camporesi. So yeah, Smeargle, little doggo, take a look at him. Something else to notice is right here, you can see that Yuma won the Japan Nationals. He did have a Smeargle on his team, and we'll take a look at a battle, not from the Nats, but from NAIC itself, and we'll kind of analyze Smeargle's role in that battle specifically. So yeah, so first of all, to understand why it worked so well in this particular instance, we need to understand the Japan Championships. So yeah, the Japan Championships are a little bit different than we see from regular, like, Western events, like regionals. So in Japan, they actually primarily still play best of 1 closed team sheet. So if you look at the format, it's a double elimination bracket, that's the same. Best of 1 before top 8, and best of 3 from top 8 onward. So only top 8 is playing best of 3 sets, and it's closed team sheets before top 8. That's when you get open team sheets, including Nature, after that. Top 64 players, this is how they qualify for Worlds. So they basically, top 64 players in the main tournament just qualify for Worlds. You can see that right here. Yeah, so invite to the 2025 World Championships. These get stuff and that, and then they get the travel award for 1 through 4. So this is how they do it. To get here, you have to place well in the global challenges, which is again best of 1 closed team sheet, as we all know. So that's kind of like, Japan is really known for its best of 1 tech, because that is primarily how they play their competitive Pokemon. Best of 3 is not the norm there. Open team sheet is not the norm there. It is best of 1 closed team sheet, which is why in the global challenges, their ranking does not count towards the final count of everybody. They have their own separate ranking, because this is how they determine how they get access to the Japan Nats, and then they can go there to compete for their invite to the World Championship. So yeah, so they really apparently like Smeargle. Yuma Kinugawa just won with Smeargle on his team, and he was not the only one. There was actually even a match, I think, in the, was it the losers bracket? They do double elimination with like winners and losers brackets. But if you take a look here, I think, yeah, Smeargle on this team. No Smeargle here, but this is not Yuma Kinugawa. One of them had Smeargles on both sides. So, yeah, here we go. So right here, Smeargle. We're double Smeargling it up. So there were 3 total, but this is Yuma right here, using Smeargle, using the team that we saw at NAIC. So what makes Smeargle so good? This is my theory personally. Smeargle is really fantastic in best of 1 because of its innate volatility and keeping your opponents on their toes. So I already mentioned that Smeargle gets an ability called Moody, where it raises 2 stats and lowers 1 every turn. The other thing that I've mentioned, there's 2 other things we need to know about Smeargle. 1, it can learn any move in the game. So that's kind of its whole shtick. You can teach it any move at all in the game, totally viable. You can't use Dark Void. That's one of the few moves. I guess I should say almost any move, because it did lose access to Dark Void and probably some other move at some point in the game. But yes, it does have that one. And 2, its stats suck. I mean, its stats are terrible. 55 HP, 20 attack, 20 special attack, 35 defense, 45 special defense, 75 speed. This spawn is atrocious, atrociously bad. If it was a good Pokemon and could learn any move in the game, that would break the entire function of the game. Like, it would be awful. So it has to be terrible. So we're going to look at a couple of Smeargle sets. Every single one has Focus Sash. It is always going to have Focus Sash. If you're running any other move, any other item on Smeargle you are throwing, do not do it. You must run a Focus Sash. I can potentially get boosts to its defenses through Moody later on to give it a little bit more survivability, but at least in the beginning, you must have Focus Sash on it so it can live literally any attack. So this is kind of the most common set we're seeing from Smeargle right now. HP 12, 244 defense, 252 plus speed. You'll see Fake Out, and you'll see a minus attack nature. It just doesn't matter, so you might as well minimize the foul play damage as much as you can. Because Fake Out's not there to do damage in this instance, it's there to fake things out so you can do something else. You're basically always going to see Smeargle run Fake Out, Follow Me, and Spore. Those are kind of the three. This like fourth slot right here where I have Decorate on this one, that seems to be the number one used right now, is pretty flexible, but the other three are pretty set in stone. The main difference between these sets are going to be the ability, the Tera type, and that fourth move slot. But yeah, so in Best of One, because it can learn any move, it can do a lot of stuff. But also, the Moody boosts increase the level of volatility. I've played a decent chunk of Smeargle, particularly in Regulation G when I was running Terra Grass, Shadow Rider with Giga Drain. I had Smeargle on there. I think that set is like this one right here. Moody adds just so much to the match because he can basically make or break the entire game. If I'm in a pretty bad board state and then I get a plus two speed boost from Moody and I'm doubling my speed, I've got really fast Spore, and I can just start putting stuff to sleep freely as much as I would like, and that can basically totally shift the momentum of the game. That's really kind of the major thing. I get a really fast Decorate, so it's something that otherwise would not have KO'd, now will KO because the partner has doubled its, offensive stat. That kind of stuff. Follow Me is cool. Doesn't really need, but let's say you do get like a +2 defense boost, and now all of a sudden that, Rock Slide, or, well, we need a single target move, like Rock Tomb, that would have KO'd Smeargle, no longer will KO Smeargle, so it can stick around on the for another turn to Follow Me again. Those Moody boosts can really change what the game is going to look like in a single turn, especially if you get the speed boost. That is like number one if you get +2 to speed. And even maybe if you get the -1 to speed, if they set up Trick Room, that's really good for you too. So yeah, it's pretty insane how much those like random speed drops, the speed boosts, any of those stat boosts can fundamentally change the structure of the game. That's kind of a big deal. So you have Fake Out, Follow Me, Decorate, and Spore, Terraghost. This is kind of probably what I would say is one of the most common sets. We'll go from most common to not common at all. Another option is we saw something similar to this with Kelsh. If you're running like hard Trick Room and you want a slow Smeargle, I know this is a ton of bulk, but its stats still stink, so you're still running Focus Sash. This is Terra Grass, Focus Sash Technician. You want the grass because in Trick Room, Mungus is a really big problem. And so since you have Follow Me over Rage Powder, you can still redirect Spores. So if you can Terra Grass, this will also allow you to live a Surging Strikes. I'm fairly certain, like, even at this amount of bulk, you cannot live a Surging Strikes from Water Urshifu with, like, a decent chunk of attack investment, which they're all going to run. So you have to have a defensive Terra for that. So Terra Grass is kind of the big thing. Technician is here because all of a sudden you're no longer knocking down your attack stat, so that Fake Out can do meaningful damage. I personally don't really know if I would ever like run Technician Smeargle in order to increase my Fake Out damage, but Mikhail Kelsh did, and he's a better player than me, and he probably had his reasons for it. So I'm not totally certain what the move is on that, but he did it, so I'm gonna give it to him right there. This is the exact same moveset though: Fake Out, Follow Me, Decorate, and Spore. You also have the option to go for something like Wide Guard. I ran that in Regulation G. This is, I think, the exact same set I ran in Regulation G, just max speed, timid, lowered. I don't remember if I had 0 attack IVs or not. I probably didn't. I don't think I cared enough. Like, it's not going to make that big of a difference, honestly. And getting a Smeargle, training up the Smeargle enough is like not hard, but it's just a little tedious, especially if you want to give it weird moves. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I ran something like this with Fake Out, Follow Me, Wide Guard, and Spore. And then lastly, we are I have seen these sets a little bit, particularly in Best of One, but Tera Dark, which is something I've been playing around with personally, Tera Dark Smeargle, because Prankster Taunt like basically shuts you down in its entirety. It's a really big problem. Focus Sash Moody with Fake Out, Follow Me, Transform, and Spore. So yeah, remember, any move in the game. So you can manually transform with Smeargle, become the partner Pokemon, you have 3 restricteds all of a sudden. You see this kind of set a lot with Calyrex Shadow Rider, because then all of a sudden, like let's say you get Cali Shadow boosted a little bit, you punish a defensive play, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about next. The big thing that Smeargle does is punishes defensive plays, but you copy your own Calyrex Shadow Rider, now you have 2+2 Cali Shadows on the field. You know what I mean? So this could be Tera Normal, this could be Tera Ghost, this could be Tera Dark. It doesn't really matter. Oh, I'm blocking all the Smeargs. Hang on. Oop, not that. There we go. I've been blocking all the Smeargs. Sorry about that. Yeah, so then you can Tera Dark, Fake Out, Follow Me, Transform, and Spore. Dang. You guys aren't going to see it, but I'm not going to re-record that. And that's kind of the big thing here. You can still see the movesets, so it's fine. Yeah, and so you can get a 2+2 Calyrex Shadow Riders, and all of a sudden your board state is just way too overwhelming, and your opponent can't do anything about it. So it's really, really cool. This, I think, is really, really fantastic in Best of One closed team sheet. I haven't seen it much in Best of 3 open team sheet, but I do think Transform Smeargle is maybe something we should be playing around with a little bit more, and particularly Tera Dark. Listen, like, even resisted hits are doing more than 50% to this thing. It stinks. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't really care about keeping that fighting weakness. A lot of the times you see Tera Ghost to avoid Fake Out, but my thing with that is you're normally going to have the faster Fake Out anyways, so it doesn't totally matter. For the most part, you really just shouldn't be clicking. Like, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't be using your Tera on Smeargle unless it's like a very specific mode. And so that's the thing. I think any Smeargle set is always going to have Fake Out and is always going to have Spore, but particularly Fake Out. Now, why do I think Fake Out? Now, remember earlier I said that Smeargle creates a lot of volatility. It's a scary mon. People don't know what it's going to do. By having Fake Out, especially on turn 1, you push your opponents to make defensive plays, which you can call them on and really, really punish. Like, that's my favorite thing to do with Smeargle. I bring it out. Even in Best of One closed team sheet, everyone knows you're going to have Fake Out, so they'll just double protect. And with the Decorate set, I just like hard read that, decorate the partner. I'm going to have an example of that right here just in a second. But yeah, you can really, really punish that. Or if they double protect and you get the speed boost, all of a sudden you can just start going for Spore, putting things to sleep and setting up or doing whatever you need to. It's a really, really big problem for your opponent. So that's something I really like about Smeargle, is that it can kind of create these situations where your opponent has to go for these hard reads, and if you just kind of like full send it and get rewarded for it, you can win the game right there, which is really, really massive. So let's take a look at an example. So I just posted a video about Snorlax, my Snorlax team that I made. You'll notice that this looks strikingly similar. It is because it was an earlier version of it. Now remember, teams go through multiple forms. So this is an early version of the team, and one of the first versions I made did actually have Moody Smeargle on it, but it was decorated. It was not the transform set that I just showed you. I'm going to show you how fun it is, how fun it can be, and how well it can work to like hard read those defensive plays on your opponent. So like, let's take a look. So I'm sure, bud, okay, because I actually made this with account with Andy when we were testing Munchlax, which we still had fun with, but I just haven't made a video on it or anything. But look at this, Zamazenta Shenpao. So right here, right? I can Fake Out either slot, and they can't really do anything about it. They can Tera Ghost Shenpao if it is Tera Ghost if they want to. It's probably not, because so like me in this moment, it's probably not Tera Ghost because they have Shadow Rider on the team. That's probably holding the Focus Sash. So most of the time you're going to see Shenpao to be Tera Stellar with Life Orb. So to me, it's like, okay, they're not going to Tera Ghost here. They're scared of the Fake Out. If I Fake Out and they and basically they double protect, it's a nothing turn for me. We're in the exact same board state. If I call the Fake Out and they double protect, I'm in the double protects, and I am in an amazing position. So in this turn, I'm like, they're going to double protect. I know it when they're going to lead like this, so I can hard read that. I still cover for that by going for Tera Fire on Koraidon, because remember, the only way that they could KO Smeargle is by doubling up into it, since I have the Focus Sash, which means that Koraidon would be able to do whatever it wants to do freely. If they spread their damage, I still get this off, and I go for Flame Charge, and I still get the Flame Charge boost, which is pretty massive. So right here, they do it. They go for the double protect, and I call it. So I go for Flame Charge, nothing happens, and there it is, I decorate. I immediately, they're on a huge back foot, because I now have a +2 Koraidon just sitting there ready to go. It's the same set, so this is max attack, so I just doubled myself with my max attack, right? And now all of a sudden, I have my pick of the litter. And I got the speed boost. Like, this is an incredible example where Smeargle just puts in an absolute ton of work and just really can disrupt your opponent. Not only do I have a +2 attack Koraidon right now that can basically do whatever it wants, I also have a +2 Smeargle that can put whichever Pokemon it wants to sleep. And if they want to swap into either Rillaboom or Amoonguss to take the Spore, it's going to take a +2 Sun boosted, Tera boosted Flame Charge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just in such a bad position because I forced so much volatility immediately. So they went for the Tera Water, and they went for the Sucker Punch, which I called. I knew, and there's the Life Orb chip, so my guess was correct that they were, in fact, Life Orb Tera Stellar. Maybe I don't know that they're Tera Stellar, but in this instance, it's most likely. Zamazenta goes to sleep. I call the Tera there. I know that they're probably not going to have a defensive Tera on Shenpao, but they're probably going to have a defensive pair on Zamazenta. So I'm either CSR's coming out and I'm taking it to Sash with Flame Charge, or I'm picking up a KO on this slot, which is pretty massive. And so, yeah, now Zamazenta's asleep. All of a sudden now, Smeargle has a +2 defense, +2 to defense, +2 to speed. I'm going crazy. So Raging Bolt comes in, right? I have a couple of options. I can Flame Charge, but they'll definitely just Thunderclap into Koraidon right here, which is a little scary. I can follow me, but let's say they wake up with Protect, and it's a Nothing Burger turn, and that's not my favorite thing in the world. I don't quite, yeah. So what I instead do is I block the Thunderclap, I Protect, I go for Spore. If Zamazenta wakes up here and goes for the Body Press into Smeargle, it will not KO because I still have Focus Sash intact. And especially since they just Thunderclap, they have not used their first turn of sleep yet, which is really massive. So yeah, here's the Body Press. They take me down to Sash. Cool. Now, all of a sudden, Raging Bolt cannot wake up this turn. And Zamazenta is pretty threatened. And I still have a +2 defense, +2 speed Smeargle just sitting there ready to go. +1, but it's still going to be faster. So I Collision Course here, get the KO before I can wake up Spore. One turn is done, right? And now I'm +3 speed with Smeargle. And there's nothing they can do. Because they've used one turn of sleep, but they can go out into whatever I'm assuming they have Calyrex Shadow Rider in the back. They can go out into it, but I'll just Spore it again and Collision Course into Zamazenta with my +2 attack. They can get lucky and get another +1, another turn 1 wake. And like, let's say best case scenario, they protect Calyrex Shadow Rider. I go for the Spore. I go for close Collision Course into Zamazenta. Probably end up doing like 40 to 50% with it. They wake up, they KO Smeargle. Koraidon is still faster than both of their Pokemon. They've just protected with CSR, and they can't Tera. I bring out my own Calyrex Shadow Rider, and I just Psychic Flame Charge into that slot, pick it up. Worst case is I lose a speed tie, and then they go down, and then I don't remember who I have in the back, but I think probably I would have one of Rillaboom or Raging Bolt, which now that Zamazenta's Tera Water probably at like 50%, one attack's going to handle it pretty well, and they're both going to live because they're both super bulky for the sets that I have. So yeah, so I'm basically in an ultimate winning position, even if I get the worst luck possible on that turn. So that's what Smeargle can do. I mean, just like right there, I did not have to bring out my back 2 Pokemon because I just got the call right turn 1, Smeargle got the speed boost, and we kind of went from there. So that's kind of an introduction into the volatility of Smeargle and the part of the reason I think it works really well specifically in best of 1 closed team sheet. So let's look at it in a much larger scale. This is the top 8 match between Federico Camporesi and Yuma Kinugawa. Federico is running, the Lunala, Miraidon, Ensign, Urshifu, Whimsicott, and Ursaluna. Kind of standard stuff that he's been running the entire time. He actually just placed, was it top 8 in the VR tour with it, I think? And then we have right here. So similar to my concept, but a different. We have Calyrex Shadow Rider with Life Orb, Tera Dark, Nasty Plot, Tera Grass, Zamazenta, Tera Ghost, Smeargle with the same set, Spore, Decorate, Follow Me, Fake Out, Tornadus, Raging Bolt, and Rillaboom. All super standard, booster energy. If I had to take a guess, I could probably give you a guess on what the EVs are on these things, but especially Sharp Beak, Tornadus is pretty cool. I mean, you have this, and then this is probably just max, you know what I mean? So
it could be relevant here.
And here for on in speed, the Calyrex and Mariah.
One other side
From the Japanese playing matchup.
Federico's more interested in their countries of origin.
Federico Carry's favor, and Federico showing the Trick Room leads here with the Incineroar and Lunala.
Yeah, I think we saw the Smeargle led as well the last time we saw Kinugawa, so perhaps seeing a pattern.
Can I get all 4 Pokemon on the...
Smeargle creates some interesting situations.
I want to see all 4 so I can, like...
Well, you get cheekier and try to go...
Okay, so this is good enough. We already know Smeargle's set, right? Fake Out, Follow Me, Spore, Decorate. It is faster than both of these 2 Pokemon. It's definitely faster than Incineroar. Incineroar can't be as fast as Smeargle. Actually, can I move myself back? Why do I keep doing that? I keep grabbing the wrong thing. Let's do that. Still faster than, and probably faster than Lunala if it's a bulky electric seed set that's probably not running all that much speed. So, like, what could Smeargle do? Smeargle can Fake Out into Incineroar. Does it have Rocky? It doesn't have Rocky Helmet, so it keeps Sash intact, right? It can immediately Spore into either of these 2 Pokemon if it wants. I know that there's electric terrain in the back, but sometimes at these you just like call that they're not going to swap it in. Or it could just go straight for the Decorate into Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's like all of a sudden, the number of things that Smeargle can do on this team, on this turn, that would very much disrupt the entire flow of the match is huge.
For something like a Spore or a Decorate, the last time we saw Kinugawa on stream,
that's what they're talking about.
Well, they're going to kick it off with a terrestrialization
out the gate right here. I mean, I don't like using my Tera on Smeargle. Unless it's like end game.
That's going to be double ghost for Kinugawa now. No fake out pressure at all from that Incineroar because of the terrestrialization, but that is a wasted terrestrialization.
That was a ballsy play from Kinugawa. Just straight nasty plot. Not even a Follow Me, just nasty plot in front of these 2, predicting basically, Kinugawa is saying, you're going to overread this turn. You're going to tell yourself that I'm never going to let you just knock off into me. So I'm absolutely going to just nasty plot in your face.
As Federico is not going for the fake out at all. Instead, Spore comes through.
And see, no fake out. Tera's gone. It was wasted for absolutely no reason.
To the Lunala as the Calyrex Shadow Rider gets that +2 boost from the nasty plot. Will take a knockoff.
So yeah, that was a really bad turn for Yuma. I mean, just terrible. I mean, he just, in my opinion, probably played it a little bit too, you know, I mean, like FedeCampo during this entire thing, and including in the finals, which hadn't happened at this point, but we saw him not playing the mind games. He was just making the safe plays, which I think his team really rewards personally in a positive matchup like this in particular. But yeah, I mean, like he's using the Spore, sure, but he was predicting the fake out into Smeargle, probably like fake out Moonblast or doubling Smeargle. So by doing that, he can put the Lunala to sleep. But yeah, that was a terrible turn
for it, and that's Yuma. A clean 1-hit KO.
Yeah, you can see on his face he's like
of a Tera and a Calyrex Shadow Rider.
You at least get to put a restriction. That's not going to be. So last time that Kinugawa was in stream, you don't necessarily need the restriction.
There's Zamazenta, which is doing pretty well.
This time Zamazenta is present, able to threaten some big damage on Incineroar the first turn of the match. And this time it didn't pay.
Federico calling the bluff. You know, Kinugawa has shown that.
The last time is on Decorate, now no longer so threatening with the Zamazenta next to it, where defense is really the stat you want to be boosting. So
yeah,
tricky position. It would be an option, and there'll be no more threat of Spore for now.
Yeah, the of it as Maridon sets the electric terrain. Kinugawa going for a prediction.
He's making insanely hard calls, like hard calling the. I mean, I don't think I agree with that play. I'm not gonna lie. Like the body press into this slot, like. What else with what else Federico has on the team? A body press into the instant slot is always super safe. If he uses Tera there, it's like whatever. But again, I don't know, man. This is like I don't think I really like that play. But we can see Smeargle here. Like I don't know. It's like he didn't utilize the volatility of Smeargle really well. Like you still have to. You can't just like full send it every single time. You still have to play kind of safe. You do have to full send it every now and again. But like, I don't know. I'm just. He made a really hard call, got it super wrong, and I mean, to be fair to Kinugawa, he got it wrong, and so when you fail one incredibly hard call that badly, you basically, the only way to get back in is to keep making those insane calls.
Body press onto the Lunala, hoping to catch it in a terrestrialization or
it's a
just
+2 attack
there, but that's going to do nothing, but you do get the
now he's like
boost onto
so insanely behind. What Moody boost did he get?
That's about it.
Yeah, the shoe kind of on the other foot.
What does it matter? He can't support stuff.
Hitting the last time that Kinugawa was on stream. A little bit of a slower start to his set, missing another attack, and things are a little bit awkward here. Or even with the boosted stats.
If I were Kinugawa here, I'd just go for another decorate. I wouldn't even follow me.
You can do more damage to Lunala, sort of, but still have to break that shadow shield.
Again,
right?
you have to make those calls.
By the time you get there, likely it'll protect.
Well, another protect there from Zamazenta, which will prevent the electro drift damage from connecting. That does open up another decorate possible for this Smeargle. So now at +4, those heavy slams are going to start hurting, but still has not broken the shadow shield, which means that this Lunala can at least take one as it wakes up here, finally awakens and fires off a Moongeist beam now into the ghost type Smeargle. That's going to set it right down to focus session. Kinugawa has not gotten a lot out of this. Went for some really aggressive plays and has just been punished for them.
Like, there's the speed rise, but again, can't spore. That's like the whole point of the speed.
By Federico.
Yeah, we see another awkward situation here. Does get the speed boost now.
He should just follow me and body press into the Rhydon.
We have to lose all those decorates as well as the boost from entering the field there in order to get any Rillaboom back in if it's in the back. Smeargle going to be fleeing instead, giving up that speed boost, and we'll see the final Pokemon for this first game.
Yeah, going to main, has to from the Zamazenta, but it fails, and Federico has not taken damage yet in this game. Big Electro Drift into the Zamazenta will not pick up the KO, and the Moongeist Beam is not doing any damage at all.
I guess Rillaboom messy, and then we'll see that fake out, so Zamazenta will finally attempt to swing.
Yeah, there is some damage onto the Miraidon and a body press to follow it up. Not enough to pick up after the Electro Drift comes so close to picking up the KO there.
The Grassy Glide's not picking up.
Grassy terrain recovery.
More interesting. Miraidon now we can protect the Zamazenta. So if Miraidon maybe attacks the Rillaboom, we could still see some action, but no, it's going to knock out the
Federico.
Yeah, FedeCampo just played way really safely, and he
at all those aggressive plays you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the idea of leveling and kind of process.
There's just not enough damage there.
I felt like Federico just.
So yeah, FedeCampo handled the amount of volatility that turn super well, understanding that if something gets put to sleep, it's not that big a deal, but CSR is the major threat. You could have maybe instead like protected Spore. I mean, the Spore already is an insanely hard call, because if he just switches into Miraidon, then nothing happens that turn. But it's still fine, I guess. Yeah, it just, Kinugawa made an insane call, got super punished for it, and I do think from that position it was almost impossible to come back, especially with like Tera Ghost Lunala still on the field. And Shadow Shield not broken.
Big risks that don't really pay off, and not even really getting close to getting into that first game.
Yeah. The one just meant that the Calyrex went down immediately, and that was so much to the Zamazenta defense stat. See how the Smeargle can sometimes get trapped, right? And Kinugawa had no safe switches pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, I think in a lot of it where the game's not Lunala slot, how big the defense. I'll be curious to see this adjustment. Do you take a bigger risk and just hope you get the read right
same
this
lead,
time, or are you trying to play a little more conservatively, because there's now this.
And again, now all of a sudden Smeargle, FedeCampo doesn't have to play the game of the volatility, because he can just like straight surging strikes into this, and nothing's gonna really want to take that.
Elimination round, right? Kinugawa had an incredible.
No nasty plot either, because then he'll get Encore.
Only lost that game we saw previously on stream, but one more loss here would knock him out of a tournament.
Yep, one more loss would knock Kinugawa out of the tournament and mean that he would not be the first Japanese player to. Are still the choice here, and Matt to go for a terrestrialization. That remains
Ice Screen's
safe.
good.
Goes for the fake out onto the Choice Band Urshifu. Entirely safe choice there, as the Astral Barrage will come out from Calyrex Shadow Rider. Whimsicott's Light Screen will protect both of these Pokemon quite a bit here, but with the Life Orb, that still makes it a 2-hit KO on both of those Pokemon.
Nice.
Well,
okay.
Likes to go quick.
There's the volatility. Even if you Tailwind, Smeargle will basically go faster and can put your Urshifu to sleep. So, like, how does FedeCampo handle this? So there's a couple of things. This is a really volatile turn right here. So So let's say okay, I need to save Ursh, so I'm going to go into Miraidon. You can Encore Smeargle, but then you can freely Astral Barrage again and either pick up KO on Ursh or get even more huge damage into Calyrex Shadow Rider. Into Miraidon with a Smeargle that still has its Sash intact, so it'll be able to take 2 and you can just Astral Barrage again. Pick up a KO either on the Whimsicott or on the Urshifu, it swaps back in, or deal a ton of damage to an Unterra'd Lunala, which would be a really big problem. You can try to go for the Encore and Surging Strikes in, like, Encore here, Surging Strikes here, but then Kali Shadow's faster and you KO the Urshifu. Like, that speed boost right there has caused so many problems for FedeCampo. If it didn't get the speed boost, the turn I think is actually quite a bit easier depending on who's faster between Urshifu and Whimsicott. But because he lost that speed, because he got that speed boost, and all of a sudden Spore is online for the Urshifu slot so that you can just Astral again without really being punished, that's a really big problem.
We see the speed boost once again. I think there'll be some question whether it actually gets to use it, where I feel like kind of the only option.
I guess it also depends on how fast Urshifu is, because under Tailwind, so remember, if this is max speed Smeargle, it hits 139. That does require a nice chunk of speed investment that most banded Urshifus on these kind of tail room teams are not going to have. So I would anticipate this Smeargle is faster than Urshifu.
Now is a Tailwind and then probably a Surging Strikes into the Smeargle slot to avoid a Spore, which is interesting now on the Kinugawa side. Like, previously you would have had to use Follow Me. You kind of have the implied Follow Me by the threat of the Spore now, or if you wanted to, you could probably even switch the Calyrex out.
FedeCampo should always force the Follow Me.
I'll play a little bit differently, because I think allowing a Tailwind here and taking some KOs could be really dangerous, given your opponent would then get some free switches.
Yeah, but this is the absolute safest play here.
I don't really love that play from Yuma. I think a Spore, unless you think that this is a really fast Ursh, which I don't think a choice band Urshifu would be, I think a Spore Astral is better personally.
Go for the Tailwind on the Whimsicott, while the Smeargle Follow Me is, that's going to protect the Calyrex. As you can see, it only takes 2 hits of the Surging Strike.
Because even if they swap, so basically why I think the Spore is better, if they swap Urshifu into Miraidon, and they set up a Tailwind, this goes down. You still have Follow Me online for the following turn, and Miraidon is faster than Urshifu, so you'll still be able to redirect both attacks. If they swap this slot out for Miraidon and you Spore, you're faster with Calyrex Shadow Rider, you KO the Urshifu anyways. Like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't, I don't understand the Follow Me unless maybe it is not max speed Smeargle. With that much damage, though, from that Surging Strikes, I would anticipate that this is no bulk Smeargle. Unless you're like, I'm really... Or he knows maybe... what did I do? Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. Hang on. Or maybe he knows that... is it this one?
Here, Federico Camporizzi running the same
stream.
I clicked a button.
Yes. Could be relevant here.
And aggressive plays, strong offensive threats that Federico.
Lunala slot, breaking the shadow shield there was adjustment conservatively, because.
Sorry, let's get back to it real quick. My fault.
Only option is Spore.
Yeah, he just doesn't get punished by the Spore play in any way, but now he lost Smeargle kind of erroneously, like unnecessarily. So now he's down a Mon that otherwise could be here either way. And to be fair to Yuma, I mean, been playing a really long time, like that day. Like, you know what I mean? This is day 2. You've been playing a ton of Pokemon for 2 days. Maybe your brain isn't as crisp, but yeah, I do think the Follow Me play. I personally can't really see how you get punished with the Spore unless you know that the Urshifu, which he might have known that the Urshifu is faster with this Smeargle. In that instance, then, this is the correct play. But I would be willing to bet that this Smeargle is faster than that Urshifu.
2 hits of the Surging Strikes to knock out that Smeargle, but critically, Calyrex is still up and will be able to fire back an Astral Barrage into both of these Pokemon, which should be able to pick up the KO on both of them as well.
Just the Urshifu.
Kinugawa will finally get his +2 boost. Ooh, actually, Whimsicott survives just a little bit. I had done my math.
I thought that was pretty clear that Whimsicott would live that.
means only a +1 boost to that Calyrex.
Yeah, I think still leave the option of Whimsicott switching out and having a late game tailwind for a second round. But this is sort of an interesting situation now, where even though
Lunala, where you can wide guard,
speed control on Federico's side of the field, and okay, well, this is a Life Orb Calyrex, right? It's not a Focus Sash Calyrex, so now that it's already damaged itself to life.
I'm curious if you just fake out into Whimsicott, not to stop it from doing anything, but just to KO it. I bet you a fake out does KO that
Spore
Whimsicott.
doesn't have a Focus Sash to protect itself. Potentially a single attack could knock it out here between the two of these Pokemon.
Well, Lunala coming out for Federico. That is a really good Pokemon to have and under Tailwind, because it will still be able to outspeed that Calyrex and threaten back with the Moongeist Beam. Kinugawa was just going to go ahead and scout out here to see what Federico wants to do, instead of just giving a free turn to the Lunala and Whimsicott team.
Yeah, see, now this would be such a great position where if you had Encore, he doesn't, he has Life Orb and Nasty Plot, but like Encore there, because then you could just, actually no, it's faster, so it doesn't matter. I'm a liar, I'm a dirty liar, because they have Tailwind up.
Whimsicott also trying to
They're just going to U-turn out.
Kinugawa into those Astral Barrages, but will go into the Protect as the U-turn will finish off the Whimsicott.
That's, I think that's a fine play. I think that's a good enough play, because you're basically stopping whatever the Lunala wants to do, and you're going to be able to regain terrain control, which is pretty massive.
That Encore threat from the table and allow Kinugawa to bring in his final Pokemon here.
A nice little play there. Also kills a turn of the Tailwind, rather. Perhaps more helpfully, where if you can get
Zamazenta,
looking at a pretty good spot, you have a single level of boosted special attack. Of course, you would
no Zama.
Pick up that knockout instead with the Calyrex if you could, but getting Whimsicott off the field is a big deal. I think otherwise that would have.
The only thing that I don't necessarily love about this play, is that now you can't protect with Calyrex Shadow Rider in order to scout for what the Miraidon locks into, because it is Specs Miraidon, I think.
Force the Terastallization.
Or is it AV? I don't remember.
Encore immunity. This leaves the options a little bit more.
No, it's Specs. So then that would be able to, like, especially with Raging Bolt, that would give you a lot of freedom.
Well, here comes Miraidon to set the electric terrain and activate the electric seed. Will also be boosting the electric type damage coming out from that Raging Bolt that Kinugawa was so effective with earlier today. Now standing alongside the Calyrex and providing two potentially strong offensive threats that Federico is going to have to worry about.
Yeah, in a scary position too. All the Pokemon on that side of the field likely to be much quicker than their opponents thanks to the Tailwind for another 2 turns. Rillaboom in the back is a factor here, likely going to see it again. Turn that terrain off, reduce the damage a little bit, and then have fake out pressure for the final turn of Tailwind.
Yep, there is that grassy terrain being reset by the Rillaboom. Like you mentioned, that cuts some of the special attack out of Miraidon's stat pool. And the Raging Bolt
calling that
will
protect
go
is
for
pretty
a protect
smart.
Itself, trying to stall as many of these turns of Tailwind as possible. But the Draco Meteor was targeted at the Calyrex, and even without the electric terrain, deals so much damage to that Rillaboom, and a double target into that slot means that this Moongeist Beam will be able to pick up the KO right away on Rillaboom. And that's going to mean that this Calyrex and Raging Bolt are the final 2 Pokemon for Kinugawa.
And Shadow Shield is still up.
Going down easily with that Assault Vest there. I feel like his poor Rillaboom all weekend, switching in, getting knocked out. Does do its job as far as changing the terrain there, but maybe hoping for a little more, right? Where the advantage of getting that Whimsicott knockout would have been, you get the fake out, you can at least stall out the Tailwind, don't have to worry about a second one. But the final turn of his Tailwind, pretty scary here. The positive end of it, if you are Kinugawa, is that you do have the Miraidon locked into Draco Meteor, going to have that reduced special attack for the main of the game. But I think even at my
just mean that there would only be the Draco Meteor this game.
Yeah, and once again, there's an awkward situation where that Shadow Shield isn't broken, right? Probably going to take 3 or 4 hits to reasonably knock this Pokemon out.
You can only Tera one.
Even significant amount.
Especially when it's very
looks like we are going to see this Terastallization here. So we saw some incredible calls by Kinugawa the last time we saw him on stream. If he doesn't predict this turn correctly,
he will be moving on to the top 4. Here comes the Terastallization out of Tera on
Tera
the
Dark.
Calyrex. So we'll be able to resist Moongeist Beams, but be weak now to Moonblast from Lunala. There's the Thunderclap. Thunderclap connects onto Lunala.
Makes sense to break the Shadow Shield.
An offensive attack here. Draco Meteor connects onto Raging Bolt and picks up the KO.
Even at -2, that's such a powerful move.
Raging Bolt goes down. Calyrex needs a miracle here to make something happen on this final turn of Tailwind. There is the Moongeist Beam that will be resisted by the Calyrex thanks to the Dark Tera type, and firing back an Astral Barrage here.
Makes sense.
That's going to be good damage, but the light screen is still up. It's not enough damage. Just a little bit to the Miraidon and, of course, to the Lunala after the Terastallization. And that Whimsicott with that light screen means that Kinugawa just doesn't have the damage.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like, okay, now you can just like double attack again. Light screen wears off, but as long as you don't miss the Draco, you're good.
I mean, there's just no way. The light stream's going to expire now, but I feel like even a double critical hit, probably not quite enough. And there's still the threat of that wide guard. Just too much going wrong here. Astral Barrage going to come down, but I can't imagine this is going to be enough.
Yeah, not enough damage,
close,
but it was so close. Just a little bit more damage would have been enough to pick up the KO on both. Draco Meteor does not pick up the KO, but Lunala right behind it with the Moonblast will knock Kinugawa out of the tournament, and Federico Camporese will advance.
Yeah, so it's like we saw some of the volatility, we saw the situations that Smeargle could have brought. I just don't think Yuma utilized it to the best. I'm just going to say that they were making reads that I personally wasn't seeing. I mean, obviously they're an incredible player. They just went to Japan Nats and they placed top 8 at NAIC, so like, but yeah, I just think that the volatility of Smeargle there, you can kind of see the beginnings of it. I think my match right here really shows like when you get that speed boost and stuff like that. But for the most part, it shows you like all of the possible options that can happen as soon as Smeargle kind of gets online in one of those matches. And that's why I think it works really well in best of 1. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I had a lot of fun making it. I really love talking about Pokemon in this way. Love doing these kinds of things. So if you'd like to see more, let me know if there are any like Pokemon you want me to talk about or any topics you want me to talk about in the description down below. But thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and become a channel member. I will include all these videos and all the resources that I'm using down in the description below, including the pastes for all of these little Smeargle boys, the smixes, you know what I'm saying? So thank you so much. All right, I hope you all know that you are appreciated. All right, peace.